Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're taking a focused look at Petroleo Brasileiro, or Petrobras, as of April 22, 2025. You've pulled together some really interesting material, and the plan is to really break it down, get a clear handle on what matters.
That's right. We've got an analysis, a pretty detailed due diligence report, and some recent updates, too. The goal is to, unpack where Petrobras stands right now financially, future prospects, any potential concerns, give you a solid overview.
Okay, let's get into it then. So Petrobras, it's a huge global oil and gas company. Core business is exploration, production, but also refining, energy generation, marketing.
And they're known for being leaders in deep water and ultra deep water exploration, aren't they?
Exactly. Almost 5 decades of experience, mostly off the coast of Brazil. That's a big part of their story.
It is. And strategy-wise, they're talking low-cost operations, but also aiming for carbon neutrality by 2050 for scopes 1 and 2.
Right. Plus community development work. It's a mix of traditional oil and gas with a nod to the future.
It seems like they're trying to blend that deep water expertise, which is a real edge, with, well, the realities of the energy transition.
So looking at recent performance, specific past stock prices aren't right here, but what about catalysts? They're bringing 3 new production systems online in 2025. That sounds like a potential boost.
It could definitely drive growth. And those shareholder meetings happened recently, around April 16th. Always important.
But the really big number is that investment plan, isn't it? $111 billion for 2025 to 2029.
That's a massive commitment. It signals, strong belief in their long-term prospects.
And speaks volumes about expected cash flow, too, I imagine, especially when you dig into the details.
Yeah, so.
Well, that $111 billion plan, it includes $45 billion earmarked for regular dividends.
That's a billion.
And potentially up to $10 billion more in extraordinary dividends by 2029.
Wow. So strong shareholder return focus alongside the investment in offshore production and refining capacity.
Seems like it. And for the recent fiscal year, revenue was around $91.4 billion.
A significant number. And profitability.
Pre-tax profit margin was about 26.7%. That seems pretty healthy.
Very solid. That kind of margin certainly helps fund both those ambitious investments and the dividend policy.
Which brings us to valuation, maybe. The PE ratio is currently around 6.39.
That is low, especially when the sector average is often, 10 to 15?
Right. So is the market being cautious, or is there value there?
Could be either, or both. Volatility in the sector, maybe geopolitical factors specific to Brazil, or maybe the market hasn't fully priced in that growth plan yet.
And their debt situation. Debt to equity is about 0.39.
That sounds quite manageable for this industry. Gives them flexibility, which they'll need for that big spending plan.
And they had positive cash flow from operations, too, around $43 billion.
Which ultimately underpins everything, the investments, the dividends. It all comes back to generating cash.
So let's summarize the strengths and maybe the potential flags. Strengths. Leader in deep water tech.
Big barrier to entry there.
Commitment to sustainability goals. That huge investment plan diversifying into refining.
Which could help smooth out crude price volatility a bit.
And the significant dividend policy, obviously attractive to income investors.
Definitely. On the flip side, though.
Well, the obvious one. Reliance on volatile crude oil prices. That's just the nature of the beast.
Always a factor.
And managing that $111 billion capital expenditure effectively. It's a huge sum. Execution is key.
Absolutely. No signs of distress now, but it needs careful management going forward.
Okay, what about market sentiment? How are people feeling about Petrobras?
Recent news seems, generally optimistic. Some analysts are pointing to potential hidden value.
Hidden value.
Interesting. Yeah, suggesting the market might be underappreciating something. There's also talk about improvements in corporate governance.
That's always positive for investor confidence. And competitors. We're talking the giants, like ExxonMobil, Shell.
Right. Petrobras is a major player, especially in Latin America, with that specialized deep water know-how. But maybe more geographically concentrated than some of those global super majors.
Which carries its own set of risks and opportunities tied to Brazil, specifically.
Precisely.
Looking ahead then, catalysts. Those 3 new production systems starting up in 2025.
That should mean increased output. Key milestone to watch.
And maybe some updates from those recent shareholder meetings on governance.
Possibly. The market will be looking for continued execution of that investment plan too. That's crucial for unlocking new revenue.
And the risks remain. Regulatory changes in Brazil, global crude price swings.
Those are the constants you have to factor in.
Okay, let's get really current. News from just the last few days, April 17th to 21st.
What's been happening?
Ex-dividend date was April 22nd. Total cash dividend of about $0.25 per share.
Okay, dividend confirmed.
General meetings approved the 2024 accounts and those payouts.
Standard procedure. Good to see it formalized.
And they signed an $800 million agreement with SLB for offshore drilling services starting this month.
Ah, SLB. That's a significant partnership. Shows operational momentum keeping those expansion plans moving.
And the market reacted positively, it seems. Shares rose about 3.8% on April 17th.
After the project updates and dividend clarity. Make sense?
Reached around $11.62 by the 18th. But then, something interesting on the 21st. Heavy activity in put options.
Put options. Suggesting some bearish sentiment or hedging, at least in the short term.
So the mid-April price bump looks tied to dividend certainty, maybe ESG progress, confidence from the SIB deal.
All positive signals. But that put activity could be profit-taking after the run-up.
Or maybe hedging before the stock goes ex-dividend. Or just general caution.
Could be any of those. It's a reminder that even with good news, there's always different currents in the market, especially for energy stocks.
So pulling all this together, what's the takeaway on Petrobras right now, April 22nd, 2025?
Well, based on everything we've discussed, the strong deepwater fundamentals, the ambitious investment, the dividend commitment, it feels like a hold or maybe a moderate buy territory.
But with caveats, right, the commodity price exposure, potential regulatory shifts, those need careful watching.
Absolutely. You can't ignore those risks.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is that contrast. You've got this long-term strategic vision, the huge investment.
And then these short-term market reactions. The stock jumps on dividend news. Then you see this burst of put activity.
It really brings up a key question for anyone listening, doesn't it? How do you weigh those long-term plans against the short-term noise when you're considering an investment like this?
That's a central challenge in investing. Balancing the strategic direction with the day-to-day market sentiment.
Well, we hope this discussion has helped give everyone a clearer picture of Petrobras based on the material we had.
Remember, this is just a snapshot. Things change quickly in this sector. Continuous monitoring is essential.
If you found this analysis helpful, please do subscribe, like, and leave us a comment. Let us know if you have questions or other topics you'd like us to tackle.
Your feedback really helps us shape future discussions. And maybe a final thought to leave with our listeners.
Go ahead.
Just consider this. Even established energy giants like Petrobras operate in this really complex web. Global economics on one side, local regulations, and politics on the other.
Understanding how those forces interact, that's really key to making informed decisions in this space, isn't it?
It truly is.